Okay. So today, last time we have covered, firewall and firewall policies. We have some global firewall policy, and then we have regional firewall policy, and we have some hierarchical level of policy. We already covered it, right? If you have any question, have you completed your task? Have you tried to, deploy this firewall policy in your lab? Did you face any issues? If you want to ask, I can help you out too. If you are stuck, Chintu, am I audible? Chintu, yeah. So what I'm asking that, do you have any questions related to firewall policy? Okay, okay. Just try it, and if you face any issue, you can ask me on the chat, or you can ask me on the next session. So let me just go ahead with the peering, right? So I'm gonna ask you the peering. So what is peering? Let me show my slide. So VPC network peering. So what is VPC network peering? Peering is the Google Cloud VPC network peering that enables your two network across the project or within the project to connect with each other, regardless of whether they belong to the same project or the same organization. Peering supports connectivity between the networks having the dual stack subnets. So basically, just give me a second. Just give me a second. I'm sorry. There are there are kids from yeah. There are many kids on neighbors. They are just playing here in my room. So yeah, a lot of noise. Anyways, sorry for that. So we are going to cover network peering. How do we, connect two networks? I mean, let's say you have a network A and network B. Both the network, their subnets have a different IP range. You can see that this subnet has a different IP range, and this network has a different IP range. So to connect the network, you need some sort of peering, right? So how do we achieve that? If you go to uh, Google Cloud Console, I already have this VPC network here, right? So let's say I have VPC1, VPC2. This is my first project, right? This is my first project, and that is my second project, 2656. So what I'm going to do in my second project also, I have the VPC network. This is the network name. Something a name can be anything, right? So I named it producer VPC, and here I have VPC1 and VPC2. So I'm going to follow this design, this architecture. You can see that I have project A and project B, and I want my VPC1 to be paired with the VPC3 and VPC1 to be paired with the VPC2. Okay, and then we will deploy some instance in each VPC, and then we will try to ping whether my compute engine in one network can talk to the another network, using the peering, right? So how do we do that? So in VPC1, I have two subnets, right? And in VPC2, I have only one subnet, right? So remember, I told you yesterday, in the routing part, that we have peering routes, right? So now when we peer the network, you will see some peering routes, peering subnets and custom routes. You can also call peering route as a programmable route or automated routes. So I will show you when we peer to network, the peering routes will automatically created. I'll show you that. If you see right now, I don't have any routes here. I mean, except the default one. If you see anywhere here, any network, you can see that I only have the static route and the and that the this in the VPC2 I have this subnet route and the this static route for the internet gateway. Once I pair this VPC2, then you will see some peering routes as well. Let's quickly pair this. So here will see VPC network peering. Can you see that? This is the network peering. So first of all, I'm going to peer this network and this network VPC1 and VPC2 within the project A. Okay, let's complete this first and then we will complete this first. One thing you need to remember that if VPC1, if VPC2 talk to VPC1 and VPC1 talks to VPC3, that doesn't mean that the VPC2 talks to VPC3, because peering is not a transitive in nature, right? So in order to make a connection from VPC2 to VPC3, you need to pair this, right? You need to pair this from VPC2 to VPC3. Understood? This is the key point that you need to remember. So let's go to the pairing. Okay, that is the default one. I can delete it, no problem. So one thing you also need to understand, the peering has to be, create on both the way. It has to be bidirectional. So if you want to VPC1 to VPC2, you will peer from VPC1 to VPC2, and then you will peer from VPC2 to VPC1. So it has to be a bidirectional. So let's create it. Where is that? VPC. I'm into VPC peering. Create a peering connection. Continue. I'm saying peering VPC1 to VPC2. Okay. Here, my VPC network is VPC1, and since VPC2 is in the same project, this VPC1 is in my this project 38. What is my project name? This one, right? 38890. That's what it is saying. And sorry, it is saying paired VPC network. I mean, to which network you want to pair? Is it in same project or is it in another project? So I am saying this is in my same project. So VPC2 is in my same project. Okay, and here you just need to go with the default option. I'll explain this later. So VPC pairing VPC1 to VPC2 is done, but the status is showing inactive. Why it is showing inactive? Because right now you have just created this one, VPC1 to VPC2. The moment you create a pairing from VPC2 to VPC1, this should be green. This should be green. So let's do it. So right now I am saying pairing VPC2 to VPC1, and this time it is reversed. Now this time my VPC network is going to be VPC2 and the peer network is going to be VPC1. Okay, and create it. See, right? So now you can say both the pairing is now showing the active state. Earlier it was a inactive because it was only the pairing was only made from the one side. To make it activate to make it active, you have to be paired on both the side. It has to be bidirectional. So now you can see this both the network are paired, which means VPC1 and VPC2 can talk to each other. So let's do some testing. Okay, let's go to compute engine, and I'm going to create a VM in each VPC. Let's make it VM1 VPC1, something like that. Okay, and here I'm going to select my region. Okay, everything is fine. Okay, network, you have to select the VPC here. So select first VPC1, and this is fine. Create it. Create another instance. Make it VM2 VPC2. Okay, and what is my VM2 subnet? Let's just check which region it is. So if you look at the subnets, it's in Delhi region. So select the same region here. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any doubts or anything if you don't understand. Now this time VPC2 done. Create. So My VM1 is in VPC1 is ready. My VM2 VPC2 is still being created. You can see the network from here, which network it is right now. And in VPC2, you might need to add some firewall rule, because to access your this machine, you need to have some firewall rule. So right now it is port 80, so you need to add the firewall rule. Uh, Allow SSH from internet. Make it 1, C2, internet, and 22. That's it. Create. So this part is ready, right? We have the instance in both the machines. So do you think my machine VM1 can talk to VM2? Should I log into each machine? On my left hand side, this machine is in VPC1. On my right hand side, this machine is in VPC2. Now I'm trying to send a request. I'm trying to ping each one. Do you think they should talk to each other? My peering is done. What do you think? Who can tell me? Shintu, Tai, am I audible? Do you think am I then these two instances can talk to each other? This VM, VM VPC1 is in VPC1 network, and this is in the another network. Both are different network. See, this VM is here, right? Let me show you here. Otherwise, you'll confused. 1 second, just a second. Just take a screenshot. It here. See what I have done. What I'm saying. I have this VM, this VPC1, and this VPC1. They are now paired, and then I deployed this VM1 and this VM2. Now I'm trying. So this VM1 and VM2 are I'm already SSH into it. So now I'm trying to access. I mean, try to assess this. The connectivity between these two VMs. So do you think they should work? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You're right. So which means the connectivity is there. I mean, there is a connectivity, some sort of physical connectivity, you can say, or virtual connectivity. But still, when you try to ping VPC, this VM1 to VM2, the ping will not work. Right? The connection will not work. Let's see. Let's see that. Let's see. Is this so? Let me ping this IP, right? No, it's not going through. And let me ping VM1 from VM2. No, it's not working, right? Though there is a pairing, but this is not working. So what do you think? What should we do? Both, both way, right? Yeah. So let's create in VPC2 first. So I'm going add firewall rule. I'm saying allow uh, traffic from VPC1. Okay. And now I'm saying all the instance in the network. And what is the source? Sorry. Yes, you can do that. I mean, you can do that. Global firewall policy or the this policy, but since we are peering between two networks and we want to allow certain range, so you need to make sure. See, global policy and organization hierarchy policy all are depend on the business use case, right? Like, what are you in a generic? What are going to apply? So maybe there may be a different use case which you can have it in as a global policy, but I don't see this is a global policy, right? Because I want to allow between these two network. So how can it be a global? Understand my point? Yes. Yeah. Right. Right. So yeah. So right now just create a firewall rule at the VPC level. So I'm saying allow traffic from VPC one. Now VPC one, what is the VPC one CIDR range? You can just go into the VPC network, and here if you go to the VPC one, there are two subnets. Okay, there are two subnets. Maybe you can have it one where your VM is hosted, or you can have both. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy both the subnet range, right? And I'm not saying all the protocols. I'm saying ICMP. ICMP means ping request. You know ICMP, right? So create it. Now let's see the magic. Here, see, my VPC1 can talk to VPC. My VM1 in VPC1 can talk to VM2 in VPC2, right? Because at the VPC2 level, I have allowed the ingress firewall rule. Now we have to do the same in VPC1. So I'll go to VPC. Before you go into VPC1, just copy this subnet range because we need to, as it, this is source range. Now go to VPC1, add the firewall rule. Now this time I'm saying allow traffic from VPC2. Oh, sorry, make it opposite. And all instance, I'll say source this, and the protocol is ICMP, and create. Now see the magic again. Now this VM can start pinging to this VM, right? Now you can see that both the VM can now start, pinging to each other, right? So whenever you are creating a network peering, you may have to make sure that you have to open appropriate firewall rules, right? Otherwise your connectivity is there, and but if your firewall is blocked, then it would not work. It is like if it's like let's say if you are going from one room, this is your one room, to another room. There is a path, I mean there is a connectivity or peering, but the door is closed here, the door is here closed. So there is no way you cannot enter here, or neither you can enter here. So the traffic is flowing here. So this door is something like a firewall, right? So you need to have both the things are appropriately set up, right? Understood? Sorry, come again, come again, come again. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Hmm. So yeah, okay. So as of now, we have just covered VPC1 and VPC2. That's right. Now we are going to set up a peering between VPC1 and VPC3. But this time VPC3 is not in this project. VPC3 is in a different project. So let me just set up. Okay. So which if VPC1 is paired with VPC3, only VPC1 and VPC3 can talk to each other. This VPC3 cannot talk to VPC2. That's what I said. VPC peering is not transit in nature, not transit in nature. Do you understand the meaning of transit? No? Oh, no, yes, no, anything? No, no. Transit means, let me show you, let me tell you with the example. Let's say um, this is a some device, right? This is some device, you can say that. If I talk to this device and you talk to this device, okay, then what if I want to talk to you like that, then this device will forward my request to you. This is you, and this is I. I mean me. So this device is a transit in nature. If you want to talk to this person, then this device can let you through and talk to there. Again, if there is another person here, then you can talk to this device, and this device can forward your request to this person. So this is transit in nature, right? You can talk to multiple person, right? Yeah, one to many. But this is not. This if this is talking to VPC3, it doesn't it doesn't mean that the VPC2 can talk to VPC3 via VPC1, because VPC1 is not transit, neither VPC2. So peering is not transit, right? If you want a transit, there in AWS there is something called transit gateway, and what this transit gateways do, um, this transit gateway solves the peering problem, because peering is a complex in nature. Let's imagine if you have 100 VPC. What do you do in that case? You will end up with peering. Your connectivity is become complex. You won't understand where we are peering to which VPC we are peering. So this peering good is good for small business where we have 10 VPC, 20 VPC. I mean, less than 20, 30 VPC are fine. But when your business grow, then you don't rely on the VPC peering, because VPC peering is a complex. It is very hard to manage. Let's say if you have multiple, this is your VPC network. Let's say, right? Let's say now if you want to peer with each other, then you are going to peering like that. See, peering like that. Then you have to peer with everyone like that, because it is a bi-directional. So you can see that there are multiple bi-directional peering. You won't understand where this peering is going through, right? That's why VPC peering is good for small business, but for larger enterprise level, you will use shared VPC. I'll come to shared VPC later after this demo. I'm coming over to that. So let's just understand this one. Let's set up this VPC3. Okay, let's minimize them. Now I am into my different project now. This is my different project. You can see that 2656. Here I have this producer VPC. You can make it VPC3. Just imagine this is my VPC3. Okay. Now um, let's create a peering. Go to peering again. So this my first tab is my project A, and my second tab is a project B. Okay. So go to your first project, because my VPC1 is my first project. Create a peering connection, continue, and here you say peering from VPC, one second, VPC1 to VPC3. Your VPC network is going to be VPC1. Now your VPC3 is a different project, right? So you need to select another project, right? As per the diagram, you can see that this VPC3 is a different project. That's why you need to choose another project. Now, what is the project ID of the different project? This is the project ID. Copy it and paste it. What is the VPC network name? What is the VPC network name? It's a producer VPC. Just copy it and paste it. And this is done. Let's wait for a second. So right now it is showing inactive. Why it is showing inactive? Because you created a connection from VPC1 to VPC3, but still VPC3 to VPC1 is pending, right? I told you, right? The VPC peering is a bidirectional. So go to VPC2, I mean sorry, VPC3 in your second project, and all here also create your peering connection. Okay. So I'm going to make it peering from VPC3 to VPC1. This is your and another project. Now you just make it opposite, okay? Vice versa. And what was that? VPC1. Was that VPC hyphen one? Sorry, VPC hyphen one. And that's it. See, just refresh it. This become active, right? And also note that wherever you are creating the peering connection, the peering connection from from that project, from that network will be reflected here, and the peering from VPC3 to VPC2 will be reflected in that project only. Okay. So now what happens? We need to test it, right? So to test it, All right, so let me install VM3 VPC3. Okay, so I'm gonna make it Delhi. One 192. Just a second. 8860. Okay, cool. Okay, done. And what happened? What is pending? Okay, 1 second. VM3 VPC3. And default producer VPC subnet 1 done. Created. I don't know what was the issue. Uh, Sometime it happens. Okay, now uh, where is my VM1? This is my VM1, right? You can see with the host name. There's my VM1. Try to hit this one. Do you think I can ping this? What do you think? No, right? Because the firewall rule is not there. So similarly, you're gonna go ahead with your VPC network, and you will create a firewall rule, right? So let me just create it. Let me just show you all the demo. Let me create allow traffic from VPC one and all instance. What is the source IP? The source IP is going to be all both this range, okay, both this network range, and you need to select the ICMP only and create it. Now let's see. I should be able to access, right? See, you can see that my VPC1 can, so my VM1 is able to ping my VM2, sorry, VM3. Understood? Any questions so far? Because I'm going to show you one more thing on peering part. I hope, yes, yes. So so VPC1, VPC2 are connected, VPC1, VPC3 are connected, but VPC2 and VPC3 are not connected. To connect it, you need to create a peering connection. Similarly, whatever we have done so far, you can create a connection. So once you create the connection, either VPC2, VPC3 can also talk to each other, right? Now your peering is done, your VMs are connecting. So far, so good. Everyone is happy. Okay. Now we need to understand the routes, right? I told you, right? The routes, peering routes. So let's go to the route here. Route. I am in the project A first. Let me select my VPC1. Okay. And let me select my region, Delhi. And now see. Oh my God. Can you see that? Can you see these 5 peering routes? These peering routes are generated because of the peering, right? And I tell you why these 5 peering. So do you know about these routes, first, second, and third, right? No, okay, let me tell you. Earlier, you only saw these 3 routes, right? This subnet one, because in VPC one I have 2 subnets. Remember that I have 2 subnets, subnet one and subnet two. That's why I have 2 subnet routes by default. And this is the static route for our my internet. Now these 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are created as a part of your VPC peering setup. I tell you how. See, in this VPC1 I have two subnets, right? So it is paired with VPC2 and it is paired with VPC3. So let's see pairing from VPC1 to VPC2. So you know that, right? If you look at these, one second. So basically you have two network 10.55, 60 and 88, right? So let's look at, if my, one second, just look at this subnet range, otherwise you're gonna get confused. Okay, this also is there. Let me just remove the, otherwise you get confused. I would want to confuse you, so that's why I'm deleting the unnecessary thing. These are the things that which I used for the private service connect demo, which is not relevant to the peering. So I'm deleting those so that the routes will be deleted. The unnecessary routes will be deleted. Okay, now it is also fine. Let's say in VPC2. Okay, this is also fine. Okay, now it's fine. Now go to route. Select VPC1. Go to my tele view. Okay, now you can see that unnecessary routes have been created. So you can see that now there are two peering subnet. Now what are those peering routes? So it's saying if you want to go to 10.255.192.0./24, go with this peering connection VPC1 to VPC3, right? Remember that this is the IP range of my this VPC, right? So yeah, remember that this is the IP range of this VPC. Let me just put some analogy here, you understand. And VPC1, in VPC1 I have two subnets, right? This subnet, let me just put it, otherwise, so I have two subnets here, right? At VPC1. That's why I will use two subnets here. Split here. Okay, now see, I'm saying if you want to go to VPC3, you have to go with the peering. And if you want to go to 196, now 196 is the IP range of VPC2, which is here. Is here, right? So it's clear, right? My VPC1 wants to go to VPC3, then take this route. And if you want to, and from VPC1 to VPC2, take this route. So now there is some peering. And what are those peering? If you just click on this peering, this is the peering connection that we have just made, right? This is the peering connection that you have just made. Just click on the VPC network peering, and you'll see the list of the network peering. You understood, right? Routes. Yeah, 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 yeah. So everything has a route. So route is, you need to understand route, because route is a very important things if you want to understand the network. See, if you want to go to Paris, there is some route. Now there may be multiple route. You can go via airplane, you can go via ship, maybe on water, you can go via train. If there is a connectivity, you can go by train. So, route in the cloud or in the IT is the same thing. Only thing that is different is that they are not visible. They are a part of network, right? That's why it is saying, if you again, I'm going to go through with the route. So these are the default, first three are the default route that is created when you create the network, and these two are created when you created the peering. That's very clear. VPC1 has two subnet. Now, if you want to go now within that subnet, if you want to go within in your room, let's say in your room, if you want to go from your bed to your chair, then how would you go? You go within the within that network, right? Because ultimately you are in your room. Same here, the subnet too. This is again, if my VM is within that network VPC1, and my VM wants to talk to the VM in the another subnet, how do you go? You go via the VPC1 network, right? Because this is your home basically. And if you want to go from one room to another room, you are ultimately are in with some big house, right? You can imagine VPC1 is a big house, and within that big house you have those rooms, and those rooms are the subnets. And if you want to go from one home to another home, you are in this same network, or this same big house. That's why it is saying next hop is VPC1. Now you are moving from one home to another home, maybe VPC3, then go with the pairing. I hope you understood, right? Okay, now any question, or should I go ahead? It's clear. Shantu, clear? Yeah. Even see, even if you're facing any issues, any problem, I have created a YouTube video on the routing, specifically on the routing. You can see, and you can watch this video if even if the things are not clear, or even if you have any single percent of doubt. Okay. All right. Now you must have seen, right? As of now, we are using the IP to connect each other, right? You have seen that, right? But in real world, we don't use the IP. We use the DNS. Okay. So let me just cover the DNS part here, a very little part, but we will cover the DNS part in detail. But just like to show you how this DNS work. Simply go to, I'm in my first project. Now go to networking service. This is a network service, and go to cloud DNS. Okay. So here I have already created a private zone. You can create a private zone or private DNS, you can say, and so you can just create a, let's say I'm going to create a zone, a private zone, and I'm going to name it, let's say I'm making it, what I can say, let's say techzone.com, tech, let's say abc.com, something like that. Okay, this is the zone name. Just make it hyphen. Now here you will make it abc.com, and add the network. So you can add the network here. I'm saying VPC1 and VPC2. Done. You can also add network from the other projects. So let's say here also, and I'm saying producer VPC as well, right? Done. Create. So this is my abc.com. This is my private domain. Okay. Now I'm going to create some entries, some some A records. You know about the A records, right? So what is A record? Basically, IP of your compute engine or VM instance, right? Are you getting my point? Okay. So basically, what I was saying, uh, as of now, you have these VMs, right? All three VMs, right? So these three VMs has got some IP, right? This has got some IP. This VM has got some IP from VPC1, and this VM has got some IP, and they are talking to each other on the IP, not on the name. But in the real world, you assign the name. Let's say this is VM1. Oh, sorry, this is my VM1, right? This is my VM2, and this is my VM3. So instead of pinging on IP, I just want to say vm1.abc.com, right? vm2.abc.com, vm3.abc.com. So I should use this one, vm2.abc.com, something like that. So it should ping each other, right? And yeah, you will use the ping, but this time you're not using IP. Yeah. So instead of IP, humans don't remember the IP. Human remembers this name, right? So DNS is what? DNS is having, map the name to IP and IP to name, right? What is the, not, like domain name resolution, or DNS name server. So the purpose of DNS is only to convert the name to IP and IP to name. That's it. Yeah, yeah. So we can see in the as per the architecture here, I am now creating a domain which I will call it abc.com. abc.com. This abc.com is applicable to my all three VPC, right? You seen that, right? I attach, when I created the zone, I attached the VPC as well, right? This is VPC1, VPC2, and my VPC3, right? Now let's create a record. When I create a record, I'm saying What is my VM name? VM VPC1, right? So just name it VM VPC1. What is the IP address? The internal IP address, okay? Create it, okay? Clear? Similarly, I'm going to create for VPC2. What is the IP address? 64, okay, done. Can you see that? My this IP has now got some, some name. Now, if I try to, hit, what was the name? Sorry, VM1, VPC1. Oh, VM1 hyphen VPC1 dot abc.com. Yes, you can see that, right? It's working. Similarly, you can ping vm2 hyphen vpc2 dot pc.com, right? Yeah, it should work because I'm using the DNS. I'm saying use the DNS. IP is not the good way. You can't remember IT every time. Yeah. Let's say you see. Let's say you have a company name ABC. Your company name is ABC, right? It could be anything. It's your company name, and you have purchased the domain abc.com, something like that, whatever domain, right? So in real world, you use DNS because it has some logic. It has some sense. In real world, you are not having a 3 VM. You are having a thousands of VM, hundreds and thousands of VM. Do you think you can remember each and every IP of VMs? No, right? You can't remember that, right? So what in the real world they do? In real world, let me show you. In real world, in the Google Cloud, let's say this is your Google Cloud. So you have multiple projects, right? You have multiple projects. This is my projects. Let's think about this is my project. And these projects are, let's say this is for dev, this is for staging, this is for UAT, right? This is for testing, and this is for production, right? So let's say you have a some 50 machines are running here in dev. So you should have some name and what like DNS name. Maybe you can set it uh, in something like dev.abc.com, right? Getting my point? I'm segregating, and here I have will use the domain something called staging. It's all my internal domain. Internal, you can set it anything. You can set a Amazon.com, Facebook.com. It will work because this is your internal network. Because domain are of two types. One is public domain, and second is the private domain. This is your private, or you can say public zone or private zone. This is your private zone, right? Public domain are paid. Private is free. I mean, not free. I mean, you can do because this is controlled by you, so you can set anything, right? So similarly, if my you can create here a production one, right? Understand my point? So let's say if I have my VM here, so what is the its name is VM1, let's say, and here also I have VM2. Then what is the this domain name? It would have vm1.dev.abc.com, right? Getting my point? VM2 dot, and here it would be production. So if there is a pairing between them, then they can talk to each other, right? They can talk to each other if there is a pairing between the VPC, right? I hope it makes sense. Let me grab my water, okay? Guys, all good? Okay. So this pairing is done. right? I also covered the DNS part, a little bit of DNS part, because DNS is very, very complex topic again. So you now have some idea, right? What is DNS? If you don't know what is DNS, you can see my article. I have created a very excellent article on DNS. So once you read it, you will definitely get a lot of information in handy. Okay, now I told you, right? This peering has some limitations, right? It's fine. It's good if you, as long as you are using 10, 20 or 30 VPC. That's fine. You can use VPC peering, right? Imagine if you have 100 VPC, 200 VPC, 300 VPC. What do? You will end up with the VPC peering. How many VPC peering you are going to create? There is some formula. Let me show you. If I show you here, let's just close it. I have written down an article. So AWS in AWS there is the same sort of VPC peering. So they have a similar version. So let me show you. Where is that? Mm, this one. Yeah, yeah. Tell me. Hmm. Yeah, this is the formula. You can see on my screen. Can you see that? Let's see. You have this number of VPC. This 5 VPC, just a 5 VPC. How many peering you are going to end up? See, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is a formula. Where is that formula? 1 second. Let me show that VPC peering formula. Is that? Yeah, this is the formula, right? You can see that. So here, where is that formula? Peering. It's very short. I mean, this is the formula, right? So you can end up like how many pairing you need. So you can use that. So here you clearly see in order to pair multiple UPC with each other, a number of a connection would be based on the formula n-1/2. For example, if you have a total of 5 VPC in your network and all needs pairing, then total connection would be 10 as per the formula where n is the number of VPC, right? So 5 minus 1. So this is like 4, 5 into 4, 20 slash 2, 10, right? So this is the formula, right? So imagine this is just this is sorry. Okay, let me explain you. Let me explain you. Let me explain you. Yeah, yeah. Explain you. Okay, and let me just grab this one image as well. Okay, and where is the formula? There is the formula. Okay, now so you have a 5 PPC right here, and you need everyone to be paired. Now what is going to do? You the n is number of PPCs, right? Remember that. So 5 PPC, 5 PPC, right? How much is it going to do? It's going to be 5 into 5 minus 1 is 4, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 You mean transit gateway? You mean transit? Yeah, yeah. The transit. See, if you are into AWS, so this is a picture of AWS. Remember that, right? If you are into AWS, then there is a transit gateway. This call is transit. AWS offer this a transit gateway, transit in nature, right? So if you have, let's say